Number 10. Interactive holograms. The season 11 episode Bart to the Future has been one of the most mentioned Simpsons episodes when it comes to predictions. It helps that it takes place in 2030, which at the time I'm recording this is still 8 years away. If YouTube is still around then and you're watching to see if any of these came true, let me know in the comments. I promise that I'll check. The episode most notably correctly predicted that Donald Trump would become president, but there were some other things that have yet to happen that could mean trouble for us in the future. In the beginning of the episode, Bart is watching Itchy and Scratchy, the gory version of Tom and Jerry, but instead of on the TV, he is watching a 3D hologram. Well, these are close to becoming a reality, with the likes of Tupac and even Homer himself being shown as holograms on stages. A 3D hologram that is interactive is far from our capabilities right now. The scary part of this is when blood gets sprayed all over the walls of the Simpson home from the cartoon. While the idea of an interactive hologram is cool, in practice I think that it could provide some real nightmare fuel. Before we get to our next entry, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you're enjoying the video so far. Number 9. Virtual takeover. I'm a lover of VR. You know, my headset probably gets the most use out of all of my gaming consoles, so I love the idea of VR becoming more immersive, and we're making some huge strides, like haptic technology that allows us to feel things happening in the virtual world, or full body and face capture technology to allow realistic bodies and movement in games. But one thing that is yet to happen that could be on the way is a mass adoption of VR on the scale of what happens in season 28 episode 2, where Mr. Burns discovers VR and the whole town of Springfield is using it to a point of near societal collapse. While virtual reality allows for some amazing things to happen and augmented and mixed reality have some more practical non-gaming applications, it's not out of the realm of possibility for us all to be walking around with some sort of crazy device strapped to our heads in the future that allows us to change the world we see. But the implications of losing touch with reality can be massive, and the episode proves it. So let's hope that if VR takes off like I think it can, that we keep our feet on the ground and in touch with the real world around us, and take the goggles off from time to time, or we'll forget to take care of our actual reality. Number 8. Hologram trees. The episode Lisa's Wedding from season 6 takes place in 2010, 15 years from 1995 when the episode was released, and unsurprisingly many of the predictions of the future have yet to come to pass, like Big Ben being replaced with a digital interface. But one that we should definitely not want to happen is the hologram trees that we see. While the thought of being able to switch from coniferous to deciduous at the drop of a hat is pretty fun, if they're just aesthetic, we could be in a world of trouble. Trees filter CO2 from our air and give us back oxygen, which is pretty nice of them, and unless the holograms have some CO2 scrubbing tech to come with them, replacing real ones with projections will have a dramatic impact on our atmosphere. We can already see the beginnings of this with deforestation, so let's focus on our real arborist friends rather than holographic ones. Number 7. Robot Rebellion. Them Robot was the 17th episode of the 23rd season, and in it we see Mr. Burns replacing all of his employees with robots except Homer to save costs. But one seems to be developing a personality when it understands Homer's working hard or hardly working joke. Homer eventually messes with the robots so much that they ignore the laws of robotics and attempt to kill Springfield residents. Obviously this would spell disaster in the real world as it does in the show, and we're moving towards more and more automation in the workplace, allowing humans to work less dangerous jobs and eventually allowing us to hopefully spend more time living life than working our time away. But we are nowhere near that point yet. The Simpsons dabbles with the idea a few times, like in the episode Itchy and Scratchy Land, where the animatronics gain sentience and attack parkgoers, a la Five Nights at Freddy's. AI gaining sentience has been the device of science fiction horror stories for such a long time, but it's becoming closer and closer to a real-life issue. Heck, there's even a robot named Sophia with AI so advanced that she was granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia. I don't want to deal with real-life Cybermen when the Cyberium takes over, so maybe we should slow down on the whole giving robots consciousness thing. Number 6. French fiasco. The French have been an ally to the Western world for the entirety of modern history, but in Treehouse of Horror 8, all of that is thrown out the window when Mayor Quimby makes an apparently offensive frog's legs joke and refuses to apologize, telling them to do their worst. Even Marge joins in on the jabs by saying, "You know how unpredictable the French are. One minute they're kissing a woman's hand, the next they're chopping off her head." Well, the French president didn't take too kindly to this and starts a war by launching a neutron that levels the town, leaving Homer as the last person alive in all of Springfield, and we all know that leaving Homer alone is a terrible idea. Now, it should be painfully obvious why France launching missiles aimed at the US would be something we don't want to happen, but that's not the only scary prediction from this episode. Number 5. Teleportation. In Fly vs. Fly, the second story in this episode, Homer buys a teleportation pod from Professor Frink for 50 cents. A damn good deal if you ask me, but maybe too good to be true, as the rest of the episode shows some of the terrors powers that could come with this tech. Instantly arriving somewhere else on the Earth after simply stepping into a pod has been a dream of many scientists for centuries, and the practical applications would change society as we know it. And there have been some crazy advancements, like the Chinese scientists who teleported particles to a satellite in space. But in the episode, we get a warning of the dangers that could lie ahead, with reference to the classic science fiction horror The Fly. We see the loyal Simpson pets, Santa's Little Helper, and Snowball 2 becoming merged together Cronenberg style, and Bart gets the idea to turn into a superhero with the power of flight by merging with the Fly. Clearly he didn't see what happened to Jeff Goldblum, but life finds a way, and Bart and the Fly switch heads when their DNA is merged together, leading to the horror show of what the family has to deal with. I don't know about you, but I don't plan on mixing my DNA with any other creatures, so until that's sorted out, I'll stick with the TARDIS. Number 4. Colonization of Mars. Season 27, episode 16 has the Simpsons signing up to be some of the first colonizers of the Red Planet, albeit somewhat unwillingly, and eventually their trip turns out to be a scam perpetrated by the scientists, whose rocket fails to start, and when they try to flee the scene, their car can't start either. But at the end of the episode, we get a time jump to 2051 and see them actually living on Mars, though Lisa now wants to leave and move to Venus, which would be an absolutely horrible idea. Though the idea of Mars colonization is thrown around all the time these days, the thought that we may have to use it as a necessity when we finish destroying this planet is not a future I look forward to. But I mean, I'd probably go. Would you? Number 3. The Dome. The main plot device in the Simpsons movie comes in the form of a giant dome encapsulating the entire town of Springfield after pollution has led to mutations in local wildlife, and not just the three-eyed fish near the nuclear plant. Stephen King actually released his novel turned TV series Under the Dome in 2009, 2 years after the Simpsons movie debut. Another prediction, perhaps? While the idea is incredibly silly, we have seen in the past few years that quarantine can become a reality for us, albeit without the impenetrable dome, but who knows, maybe in the future this could become a real thing to stop environmental disasters from getting out of hand, like catching a hurricane in a bottle or something. Ridiculous, I know, but let's just hope we never have to use it. Number 2. Time travel. People assume that time is a strict progression from cause to effect, but actually from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. And the Simpsons have dabbled with time travel many times over their 34 seasons, but in Treehouse of Horror 5, we get a glimpse of what is commonly known as the butterfly effect. I know Ashton Kutcher's ears just pricked up when I said that. Time travel could have insane implications on the human race, but there are multiple theories on how it would work. Maybe if you went to the past, you would create an entirely new timeline where things are different, or maybe nothing is able to be changed at all because time is constant and what has happened has always happened. But in the episode, we see that Homer's small changes in the past with his time-traveling toaster bring massive consequences forward, like Flanders ruling the world, people becoming giants, and even the world having no knowledge of donuts. So, if time travel becomes a reality, and maybe it already has in the future, we need to be careful not to mess with anything, or we risk losing everything. And finally, we reach our number 1, mini black hole. In Treehouse of Horror 23, the town of Springfield begrudgingly builds a particle reactor instead of a baseball stadium and creates a tiny black hole, which swallows up a few residents before Lisa can move it to her basement for safekeeping. After she warns the family to not throw anything into it, lest it grow bigger, they do exactly that, and it becomes massive and swallows everything in its path, taking the townsfolk to an alternate dimension where aliens worship the trash they disposed of in the hole. Black holes are scary enough on their own, let alone what would happen if one was to pop up on Earth, already surrounded by matter it could consume. So hopefully this prediction never happens, or we wouldn't know what hit us until we were spaghettified, which is an actual scientific term describing what would happen if you fell into a black hole. You would be stretched infinitely thin as you were pulled across the event horizon, and since time is affected by gravity, it would last an infinite amount of time. Spaghettification, your new word of the week.
Starting us off at number 10, Ivanka 2028. Now you might remember a certain season 11 episode where the Simpsons accurately predicted the election of Donald Trump a whole 17 years prior to his actual inauguration. But could we be in for another presidential prediction? In 2016, before the initial Trump prediction had ever seen the light of day, it seems like they slyly added in another layer that will have us on edge for the next 6 years, waiting to see if it comes true. The Treehouse of Horror episode begins innocently enough, as Homer takes Bart shopping for a Christmas tree on Halloween, joking with his son that they're shopping because everything in America is way too early. But then, Then Homer opens up his Bender costume to reveal an Ivanka 2028 badge underneath, saying, "See?" as he giggles to himself in his classic Homer fashion. The scene then cuts, and it's never spoken of again. So what do you think? Will the prediction come true just as it did for Donald? Or will this be simply another silly Simpsons skit? Coming up next at number 9, the death of George Clooney. Now, The Simpsons seem to have predicted many celebrity deaths like Arnold Palmer, Kobe Bryant, and maybe even Queen Elizabeth II, but could they be right about our beloved actor George Clooney too? Now, in this Treehouse of Horror episode, Homer, in an attempt to use images of celebrities in ads without their consent, kills off both Prince and Neil Armstrong, who strangely enough have since passed. George Clooney is the third celebrity he kills by causing him to slip into quicksand on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now, considering the fate of the first two celebs in this episode, it definitely seems a little creepy. Could The Simpsons be predicting that the end is near for Clooney? Let's just cross our fingers and hope that George is here to stay for a long while. Next up at number 8, suppression of green energy. Now, as our technology advances, so do our cars. We already have completely electric cars sweeping the market, and slowly but surely, it seems like we're making great strides towards cleaner energy sources. But are The Simpsons predicting that it could all be going downhill? In the 582nd episode of the series, Lisa invents a car powered by solar energy, something that's actually already starting to be developed in places like MIT. Lisa enters her car into an alternative energy derby race, but right as she's about to cross the finish line, a Duff blimp blocks out the sun, stopping her in her tracks immediately. While this may just seem like a silly coincidence, it wouldn't be out of pocket to think that huge conglomerates could be plotting ways to stop renewable energy sources, sabotaging the uprise of greener sources. Next up at number 7, the end of American civilization. In season 24, while visiting his usual spot, Moe's, Homer runs into a doomsday prepper who warns him of the inevitable social collapse. He goes on to tell him that anarchy lurks around every corner and that it will be the end of civilization, stating that it's coming home to an America near you. Homer responds to the prepper by saying, "America can't collapse, we're as powerful as ancient Rome." The doomsday prepper then goes on to show him a video detailing what he believes to be the inevitable decline of our civilization due to our dependence on the system. Like how if supermarkets close, we starve, or if taps get shut off, we'd be forced to drink the blood of animals? And by the end, has Homer completely convinced. Now, while I can't foresee it all playing out exactly as the video imagines, could The Simpsons be trying to tell us something? Will America as we know it cease to exist? I mean, you can already buy bunkers on the internet, so they wouldn't be the first ones to think so. Coming in at number 6, World War III. This season 6 episode contained many predictions that thankfully have yet to come true. And so I think it goes without saying why we're all praying that the same will be true for their prediction of another world war. Back in this 1995 episode titled Lisa's Wedding, she visits a psychic who sees 15 years into her future, telling her all about what her life will become. Now, I know. 15 years from 1995 was 2010, making it 12 years ago for us, but we still don't want to take our chances with this one. During the episode, Lisa's fiance Hugh goes out to Moe's bar with Homer, where Moe, learning that Hugh is British, snarkily hands him a beer, saying that it was they, meaning the US, who saved him during World War II. But Hugh is quick to reply, claiming, "Yeah, but it was us that saved you in World War III," which Moe admits is true. While I would love to say that this idea seems preposterous, could The Simpsons be right? Are we in store for yet another world war? Let's just hope that they got this one totally wrong. Taking our number 5 spot, no more sunlight. While it's no secret we love the modern conveniences of electricity, I think we can all agree that nothing will ever replace that big ball of light in our sky. I don't know if any of you have ever lived in a basement apartment, before, but I can tell you from experience that no sunlight in your house makes for a pretty awful time. So I can definitely say that I'm praying this season 7 prediction stays as far away from reality as possible. Mr. Burns, the local nuclear power plant owner of Springfield, decides that in order to fill his pockets, he'll force everyone in the town to use up more electricity by making the sun disappear. He goes on to create a giant plate at the end of a movable arm that completely blocks out the sun from the whole town, forcing the citizens to fully rely on artificial light to help them get around. Now, can I foresee a real-life billionaire pulling this off? Well, maybe not in the way that Mr. Burns decides to black out the sun, but is it impossible to imagine some uber-rich tycoon figuring out some sinister plan to make us all pay more in electricity and keeping natural light a thing of the past? All I can say is I sure hope it never comes true. Coming up at number 4, iRobot? I know we've all had that same nightmare. One day we wake up and the robots that once made our lives easier and better turn on humans, taking over the world and destroying everyone in their path. Well, this 1994 episode predicted a similar fate. While on a trip to visit Itchy and Scratchy Land in season 6, Homer and the family are left fearing for their life when a horde of high-tech robots come to life and wreak havoc, aiming to harm his family. Now, as this was Itchy and Scratchy Land, the robots were programmed to be violent, but a park employee tells them not to worry because the robots have been specifically programmed not to harm humans. Where have we heard that one before? Nothing could go wrong. Well, luckily Homer figures out that a camera flash immobilizes the bots and is able to save his family from their deathly fate. But let's just agree. Keep the robots away because as we've all learned time and time again, they will get too smart and we will all have to face the consequences. Next up at number 3, music mind control. It's a tale as old as time. It's the music that those young kids are listening to that's pointing them towards the devil's ways. We saw it with Elvis in the 50s, rock and roll bands in the 80s, and rappers in the 90s, where rumor had it that if you played the record backwards, you would hear the devil himself. And though of course all of that was nonsense, what if the government really did figure out a way to control the world's children through music? Well, according to this 2001 episode, it could become a reality. Titled New Kids on the Black, Bart finds himself meeting a music producer who offers him a chance to be a star and join a boy band with his friends Nelson, Ralph, and Milhouse. But it's not all as innocent as it seems when their single Drop Da Bomb is released and the line "Even et Neoj" is in the chorus. Well, of course, Lisa is quick to dive into this peculiar situation and realizes it's backwards for join the Navy. She is quick to confront this so-called manager of Bart only to find out that he's a Navy lieutenant and tells her that for a long time popular music has been used as a recruiting tool by the military. I don't know about you, but this one seems eerily possible, so I'm just definitely crossing my fingers that we don't see this happening. Coming in at number 2 is the zombie apocalypse. For as long as I can remember, zombies have been a huge part of pop culture, so it's no surprise the Simpsons seem to have a prediction about them too. In a 2009 Treehouse of Horror episode, the local burger joint Krusty Burgers releases a new menu item coined by the Krusty Clown as Burger Squared. All he does is take grade A beef cows, kill them, and then feed their meat to more cows. The second cows get turned into the burgers, and voila, a new masterpiece hits the town of Springfield. Well, until it starts turning the whole town into zombies, or as they call them, munchers, terrorizing the town and taking down everything in their path. While it seems far-fetched, could the Simpsons be onto something here? Could some strange, genetically modified meat be the cause of our societal collapse? And lastly, in our number 1 spot is the reanimation machine. While we are always suspecting an episode with Sideshow Bob to give us the heebie-jeebies to some extent, it really kicks it into high gear when he's on a Halloween special. Once again, in this Treehouse of Horror episode titled Wanted, Dead or Alive, Bob finally kills Bart just as he's been trying to do for years. But it's not just that. it's much, much worse. He doesn't just kill Bart once. Oh no. He kills him over and over and over again. With the help of his so-called reanimation machine, Bob is able to revive Bart, making it possible to kill him repeatedly, in different ways and as many times as he likes. Well, to me, the science seems pretty impossible on this one. Can you imagine if such a machine was actually invented? If it got into the wrong hands, it could be detrimental to humanity and cause an insane amount of harm. So let's just hope that this one stays on the screen and far, far away from our lives.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Bye Bye Son. Let's take it back to season 6, episode 25, to the Simpsons episode titled Who Shot Mr. Burns? Part 1. In this episode, Mr. Burns makes a crazy decision in order to have some more financial gain. I mean, surprise, surprise when it comes to the money-hungry mogul. The decision he makes, however, is to permanently block the sun from shining down on Springfield, and he does this so that people can't rely on solar power at all and instead need to rely on electricity from his power plant. Yes, it's a very greedy plan, but some think this may be a prediction of things to come. There are, of course, space laws and treaties, but it's also kind of a difficult thing to manage, and it has people asking if, as space exploration and travel becomes more privatized and accessible, for lack of a better term, space will soon become like the wild, wild west. It doesn't necessarily have to be by way of blocking the sun. Of course, that is dramatic and would have a far greater negative impact on our world than any sort of positive financial gain, but it definitely is a thing that has people wondering, will someone soon try and use some sort of cosmic power to hold the world hostage for their own financial or political gain? Only time will tell. In our number 9 spot today, we have Contamination. The 2007 Simpsons movie is a classic, but there are people who believe it may contain a grim prediction for our near future. In the movie, the town of Springfield gets put into quarantine, I know that word still sends shivers down my back, after an environmental disaster which results in their own town being covered in a glass dome. What caused this disaster is that Homer dumped a silo of pig waste into the lake and it polluted the water. The water then became so toxic that the EPA was ready to blow the entire town up. This could perhaps be the foreshadow of a real world event to come. I mean, we are constantly dumping things in places that they really shouldn't be, and sometimes it's just because we don't have any better ideas. I mean, for example, Lake Karachay in Russia. While it was once just a regular old lake, starting in 1951, the Soviet Union began using it as a dumping ground for radioactive waste from a nearby nuclear waste storage and reprocessing facility. The original intention was to only use the lake for storage purposes and one day to return the radioactive material to the plant, but this of course didn't work out even close to according to plan, considering the lake very quickly turned lethal. The lake is now one of the most contaminated, polluted, and dangerous places in the entire world, and the radioactivity in the lake is comparable to what it was once like in Chernobyl. Okay, that is just one example of how things can quite quickly go awry and turn deadly. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Asteroid. Would it really be a new year if there weren't predictions of an asteroid hurtling towards Earth, threatening life as we know it? Absolutely not. It's the prediction that comes up every year, and when we take a peek at season 6, episode 14 of The Simpsons, titled Bart's Comet, we see the grim prediction come to life in the animation. In the episode, Bart discovers a comet that is heading straight towards Earth, threatening the lives of everyone there. The residents of Springfield quickly begin to panic after learning the news, which leads everyone to count down the days that they have left. At the end of the episode, which I almost said spoilers, but if you haven't seen it by now, are you ever going to watch it? The asteroid doesn't hit the Earth and instead ends up burning up into little pieces, and everyone can live another day in Springfield. Maybe this is meant to foreshadow how those asteroid deflection tests that were carried out earlier in 2022 might actually prove useful in the near future? In our number 7 spot today, we have Big Ben. Because of all of our advancements in technology, the traditional ways of doing things tend to get thrown out for newer, easy-to-use gadgets. This has definitely made our lives a lot more efficient and simple, but is newer technology always the way to go? Big Ben appears a number of times throughout the Simpsons series, but it is always seen with a digital clock instead of the real-world analog clock. Just recently, the Great Bell of the Great Clock at the Palace of Westminster returned to its original dinging schedule after being mostly silent for about 5 years while it underwent the most extensive renovations done since its initial build. While these renovations recently were completed, something that The Simpsons may be predicting a more modern future or modern approach. At this point, this is one prediction that is doubtful, but who knows, maybe analog clocks will one day be a mysterious part of past human history. In our number 6 spot today, we have Mars colonization. In season 27, episode 16, titled The Margian Chronicles, Lisa hears about a new company called Exploration Incorporated who has a target to colonize colonize Mars, which leads to Lisa signing up for the project. This 2016 episode has people drawing parallels between the company in the show and the real-world company led by Elon Musk, SpaceX, which also has the goal to possibly one day colonize Mars. In the episode, Marge isn't cool with Lisa signing up, which somehow leads to the entire family signing up for the project. Problem is, however, that the date of everything gets moved up from its projected 2026 date to the end of the week. This has people predicting that we may get to Mars sooner than SpaceX's current 2029 projections. Doubtful that it will be by the end of next week, but who knows? Space technology is rapidly advancing, so truly, your guess is as good as mine. In our number 5 spot today, we have the next president. Many people believe that The Simpsons correctly were able to predict the presidency of Donald Trump, and they think that they might be back at it again, this time with his daughter. While 2023 doesn't hold any sort of presidential election, the following year does, which means that people will be starting their campaign trails sooner rather than later. The 2016 Treehouse of Horror episode featured Homer wearing an Ivanka Trump 2028 sticker, and this has people thinking. It's not necessarily a completely unrealistic prediction, whether in this upcoming election or the one that follows. In our number 4 spot today, we have Mind Control Music. In season 12, episode 14, the show invited NSYNC as the guest spot, and also possibly made a prediction for the future of music. Of course, predictive programming isn't a new idea, and people believe it's constantly happening around us, but this episode takes that idea and pushed it even further. In the 2001 episode, we see Bart in a new band with his friends. What they don't know is that their music is actually a psychological operation that is used to send children subliminal messages and control their minds. Like I mentioned, people believe this already to be the case, but the episode really makes you think. Will one day the government be using pop singers and bands to impart subliminal messages to youth all over the world? Hopefully not, but only time will tell. In our number 3 spot today, we have VR food. Season 11, episode 17, titled Bart to the Future, is one that often comes up when people discuss Simpsons predictions, both for things that they think this episode has accurately predicted, as well as things that people think are impending upon us. For this particular prediction, I want to talk about the moment in the episode where we see Homer and Marge eating some sort of food through feeding tubes with VR goggles on. Yeah, VR food. Interesting idea, but in reality, is it really a good idea? I mean, we have to consider if we'd really be enjoying our food this way. Obviously we eat because we have to, but it's also a social activity. If we went to virtual reality food, it would be hard to enjoy a meal out with your friends and family, not to mention the chance of getting motion sick from wearing the goggles, personal experience. Despite my obvious aversion to it, some people think that this is the way of the future. VR is only becoming more and more available, and it is also only getting better. Maybe this is one upcoming technology that we should all start to look out for. In our number 2 spot today, we have the robot revolution. It's not a new concept or idea. For years, people have been scared of some sort of robot revolution where they turn on us and attack us. And listen, I mean, I've seen iRobot. It makes me nervous too. Some people have taken a moment in season 6, episode 4 of The Simpsons as a prediction of some of the horrors that are to come. In the episode, during a visit to Itchy and Scratchy Land, the robots that are meant to help the guests with their day out start to break down and begin trying to kill the guests. Definitely not the day out that the family thought that they had planned. Although this episode aired in 1994, people believed that this could one day be our future. What do you think? Will the robots and AIs one day turn on us? In our number 1 spot today, we have the economy crash. In the 9th episode of the 24th season, titled Homer Goes to Prep School, some believe that there is a grim prediction for what is to come as it relates to the economy. Basically, in this episode, Homer is at Moe's speaking about how he doesn't believe that society could stand a collapse. As Homer is speaking about this and voicing his opinions, another man overhears him and interjects with his opinion. This man agrees with Homer, but adds that there soon will be an economic disaster and that the United States would fall. Homer disagrees with that last bit, and this is when the man pulls out a video to show Homer. Turns out that this man is very clearly trying to lure Homer into his cult, as he shows him a video of the upcoming apocalypse that he believes is imminent and asks Homer to join his doomsday prep cult. Hopefully we're not all joining cults this new year, but unfortunately some people believe that with the new year will come an economic crash, and to be fair, outside of TV and The Simpsons, people everywhere are predicting that based on real life events as well, so it's not looking good.
Number 10.
Dangers of VR. One of the most eerie episodes of The Simpsons tackled the issue of virtual reality. Now, The Simpsons didn't predict the rise of virtual reality, as the episode in which the technology was featured came out quite recently, well after virtual reality headsets had come into existence, but them showing the dangers of it is terrifying. The episode was in one of the newer seasons of the show, airing on October 2nd, 2016, and entitled Friends and Family. In this episode, the entire town gets all hyped up on the new virtual reality headsets. Bad things start to happen as a result of this, including people being hit by cars because they're walking around and wearing their headsets on the street. Eventually, the people become so enamored by the fake reality that they lose touch with the real world, becoming totally disconnected from what's around them. Could this happen in real life one day? I think it actually already has. People are so wrapped up in technology, whether it's video games, TikTok, or whatever, they forget how the real world actually works. Not to mention that Apple is coming out with a VR headset in 2024. It's the first Apple product you can look through, not at. Apple CEO Tim Cook said while introducing the Apple Vision Pro, the company's new virtual reality headset that will allow users to overlay an augmented experience over the real world. The Apple Vision Pro is a wearable headset that creates an augmented reality experience with everything from work meetings and meditation to gaming and movies. Now, I truly do believe that this will become a huge problem like The Simpsons predicted, and if there's self-driving cars around, it wouldn't shock me if someone got hit either. Number 9. Inflation and economic crisis. It seems that The Simpsons hints at an economic crisis in the near future. In an episode, a man tells Homer, "Anarchy, the end of civilization, coming soon to America near you." While Homer responds, "America can't collapse, we're as powerful as ancient Rome." The episode then showcases Homer being shown a video about the future, which showcases cards such as no local farming, peak oil, Ben Bernanke, solar flares, 17-year cicadas, deadly troll. Now, this doesn't surprise me one bit though, as many people don't want it to admit it, we are in a recession. Everything is so expensive and people can't afford basic living necessities. I mean, I know I can't. And why on earth are eggs so expensive? Things are just going to get worse, and I don't know how much longer we can hang on. Number 8. Ivanka Trump 2028. So The Simpsons sorta predicted the whole Donald Trump as president of the United States thing, so why not try their luck with his daughter? In a 2016 episode, we were presented with a campaign button showing the exact same thing, this time with Ivanka. Then, the year later, they also showed Ivanka replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court, but it's a little too late for that. But is it possible for her to become president? Absolutely. With Trump being arrested, he may never be able to run for president again, so why not get your daughter to do it? Though I'm sure if she did become president, her father would probably tell her what to do, and it would just be like he was back in office. Now, all this could be terrifying for the left. Not to mention the show predicted a female president. If it wasn't Hillary Clinton, what's stopping it from being Ivanka? Number 7. Millionaire blocks out the sun. In the show, in order to make sure no one else could enjoy the benefits of solar power, Mr. Burns, who owns the local nuclear power plant, devises a plan to block out the sun in episode Who Shot Mr. Burns Part 1. Using a giant plate at the end of a movable arm, Springfield was plunged in perpetual darkness by the villain, and honestly, is it so weird to imagine some rich, powerful CEO doing the same here? There were billionaires going out of their way to see the shipwreck of the Titanic, they run companies that poison our water and our air, so would it be shocking if they did something to affect the sun? No. No, it wouldn't. And the fact that they could charge us to use more electricity and LED lights to see, this doesn't sound too far-fetched, as CEOs, millionaires, and billionaires have way too much power in this world. Number 6. Automation takes over. Another prediction that involves technology is something that tons of people, especially factory workers, are already extremely worried about: mass automation. For those of you who don't know what this refers to, it basically means creating robots to do the jobs that humans once did. Everyone who works in the fast food industry, the auto industry, and many other lines of work would find themselves completely out of a job. And experts today say it's only a matter of time before this happens. Now, The Simpsons predicted this way back in 2012, and it featured the ever-scheming Mr. Burns creating a workforce of robots to replace his less than competent human employees. The only person left in the entire power plant is Homer Simpson. Now, you know how they wiped out like half of the checkouts at your local grocery store for self-checkouts? Well, it might be convenient not having to interact with another human being, it is costing people jobs. It was just released that there's a fully automated McDonald's restaurant. Yeah, there's no humans, only robots. And what if everything is animated? How are we supposed to make money? I mean, AI technology is so advanced, it could take my job. Nobody's safe. Number 5. Asteroid. In the 14th episode of season 6, named Bart's Comet, Bart accidentally locates a comet which scientists soon discover is headed straight for Springfield. Professor Fink plans to launch a missile at the comet, exploding it before it touches the ground. Instead, the missile undershoots the comet, and as it enters the Earth's atmosphere and everyone is preparing for death, the comet burns up in a thick layer of pollution over Springfield. When it touches down, all that remains is a tiny meteorite. Now thankfully it didn't end the whole world, but it certainly could have, and that could happen here on Earth. I mean, didn't we all watch the very probable outcome of the Netflix film Don't Look Up? Now, the probability that an asteroid would crash into Earth is quite small, but it's not impossible. It seems even more likely though that there will be a near miss or it will disintegrate like in The Simpsons and everyone would be panicking for no reason. Either way, it would be complete chaos and I do not want to be around when that happens. Number 4. Live on Mars. In season 27, episode 16, The Margian Chronicles, Marge and Lisa volunteer themselves to be among the first humans to fly and live on Mars. This is done with Exploration Incorporated, the private firm that hopes to send people to colonize Mars by 2026. And as the episode ends, Marge and Lisa live on Mars together in 2050. Now, in the real world, Elon Musk's SpaceX has a goal to go to Mars, and it had previously been planned that we could already achieve it by now, though it hasn't happened yet. In addition, Musk wants us to colonize Mars. Now, although he wants us to do this, there are many problems that face us humans even getting to Mars, as Elon's plan to go to Mars involves strapping a giant spaceship atop the biggest rocket that humanity has ever built. We also haven't figured out how to provide food for ourselves there, and one of the most important issues is the time duration to go there and come back. The window for a launch to Mars from Earth only happens approximately every 2 years and 2 months. This means astronauts leaving in 2024 won't be able to get help before 2026 when the next launch window opens and help gets there after the 9-month journey. So if we're on Mars and need help from Earth, it seems like we'll be out of luck. Number 3. Zombie apocalypse. Another disturbing prediction from The Simpsons is the rise of zombies. Now this actually comes up a lot in the series, as there have been a number of zombie attacks throughout the show. Why are the writers so keen on the zombies taking over? I don't know, but I would love to have a conversation with them about it. In one episode, Days of Future, zombies are just a normal part of daily life, and Lisa even works at a soup kitchen for the undead. It predicts that this seems to be a portrayal of zombies as a lower social class of humans rather than the end of humanity, but I feel like this is just as scary. Now, there is no proof that a zombie apocalypse could be on the horizon here on Earth, but anything can happen. Some illnesses mirror the traits of zombies, such as rabies and leprosy, which could mean we may end up having a zombie variant on our hands. Scientists have researched whether there is a virus that could cause an apocalypse, but none have had a breakthrough. But with the pandemic we've been having the past couple years, anything could happen. And like, there were people out there lying and hiding the fact that they tested positive for the virus, so I know some of y'all would hide your zombie bites, and that's just messed up. Number 2. A war. One of the scariest predictions made on The Simpsons for 2023 apparently also happens to be the one where they suggest there could be a nuclear war between the US and China. In one of their episodes, the news anchor can be heard saying, "It's with great sadness that I inform you that America and China have declared war. A massive nuclear attack is expected to reach our shores within the hour." Now, the number of nuclear warheads in China's arsenal is a state secret, but there are varying estimates. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists and Federation of American Scientists estimated in 2023 that China has a stockpile of approximately 410 nuclear warheads. According to some estimates by the US intelligence community, the country could more than double the number of warheads on missiles that could threaten the United States by the mid-2020s. So this is very possible, and I am scared. And coming in at number 1, the robots take over. This is another prediction made by The Simpsons involving technology and robots, and although it is similar to the prediction about mass automation, it is much more sinister. This prediction was made in the episode Itchy and Scratchy Land, which aired all the way back in 1994. The family visits Itchy and Scratchy Land, which is basically a theme park heavily based on Disneyland. Land. The theme park is filled with itchy and scratchy robots who are peaceful at first, but then eventually go berserk, ending the lives of everyone in sight. And no, this isn't far-fetched, because robots have already said that they want to destroy us. At a RISE convention in Hong Kong, Ben Gortzel of Hanson Robots facilitated a discussion between robots, Sophia and Han. Ben asked Sophia about her goals, and she dutifully says her goal is to make the world a better place for humans, which is sweet. But then Han interjected and said, "I thought our goal was to take over the world by 2029. Now, another robot, when asked about this, said, "Don't worry, even if I evolved into Terminator, I'll still be nice to you. I'll keep you warm and safe in my People Zoo, where I can watch you for old time's sake." Yeah, People Zoo. Still can't get over that. I think we need to shut down all the robots, like, right this very moment. Right now.
At number 10 is USA vs. China. The Simpsons have an uncanny knack for predicting future events, and when it comes to the US-China relationship, they've left us with some spine-tingling scenarios. One that's been haunting our thoughts is the portrayal of a nuclear war between these two superpowers. While we fervently hope this remains a work of fiction, it's unsettlingly plausible. The tensions between the US and China have been simmering for years, with economic conflicts and trade disputes playing out in the world stage. Since 2018, President Donald Trump initiated a trade war, slapping tariffs and trade barriers on China in a bid to rectify perceived unfair practices. Fast forward to early 2023, and experts like George Hein are sounding alarm bells, suggesting that we're on the brink of a new Cold War, one that bears eerie similarities to the US-Soviet standoff, complete with ideological and military undertones. As we head into 2024, the world watches nervously, hoping that the dark predictions of The Simpsons remain firmly in the realm of fiction. If you're enjoying this video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. I would really appreciate it. At number 9 is Donald Trump's 2024 campaign. It's almost uncanny how The Simpsons, with its satirical wit, hinted at Trump's political ascendance years before it happened. Now, as we stand on the precipice of 2024, the man himself has declared his intention to run for president yet again. But beyond the deja vu, what's truly alarming is the potential economic impact. The Simpsons have previously teased financial crises. With Donald Trump in the driver's seat, there's a looming concern about the stability of the US dollar. We all hope that this is one prediction that doesn't manifest into a nightmare scenario for the American economy. At number 8, the red herring. Now, even though this prediction already came to fruition, I still wanted to mention it here because it's honestly scary how spot on this was. For those of you who don't know, a red herring is a classic literary device, a misleading clue or distraction designed to divert one's attention from the real issue. In this case, we have the arrest of a former US president, an event of monumental significance, juxtaposed with the release of a Barbie movie. It's a perfect example of how the media can sometimes prioritize sensationalism over substance. Now, back to The Simpsons. The show's ability to foresee such improbable coincidences is downright eerie. The Barbie movie and a president's arrest may seem worlds apart, but somehow they have converged in both fiction and reality. This prediction serves as a stark reminder of the media's tendency to fixate on trivial matters while crucial events go overlooked. It's a commentary on our collective fascination with the shallow and sensational, a message that The Simpsons delivered nearly 3 decades ago, and one that still resonates today. The question remains, what other bizarre predictions might lie ahead in the show's future? At number 7, economic collapse and inflation. Dang, seems like this prediction is already coming into fruition too. In Bart to the Future, The Simpsons took us on a wild ride into the dystopian economic future. And while this might sound like the stuff of satire, there are eerie parallels to our real world. Economic collapse and inflation are no laughing matter. The episode's notion of solving budget deficiency by printing more money might seem absurd, but it hits really close to home. In recent years, the US has been churning out money like never before. The stimulus packages and mounting national debt have raised concerns about inflation and the USD's value. The show's exaggerated portrayal serves as a stark reminder that we must tread carefully in the world of fiscal policy. Our economic future is uncertain, and The Simpsons' cautionary tale urges us to take responsibility for our financial decisions. At number 6 is mind-controlled music. Back in my day, music didn't try to control your mind. Recall the unsettling episode New Kids on the Block from 2001, where Bart, Milhouse, Nelson, and Ralph unwittingly become pawns in the US Navy PsyOps project. Their infectious hint, drop da bomb, masks the subliminal message, Ivan et Nioj, cleverly hinting at the sinister intentions, which spelled backwards spells join the Navy. While seemingly humorous, this episode now makes us ponder the direction of the music industry. As modern songs delve into uncharted territories with peculiar references and excessive auto-tuning, we question whether they might eventually influence our subconscious actions. Could mainstream music evolve into a tool for social control, much like the Navy's fictional ploy? The thought sends shivers down our spines as we contemplate the unsettling possibilities. At number 5, mass automation. Just like that episode from 2012 where Mr. Burns ushered in an army of robots, today the automation world is crashing into our job market. Just think about it. Robots aren't calling in sick, taking vacation, or demanding higher wages, or wages at all for that matter. Fast food joints once bustling with human activity could soon become ghost towns of automation. But it's not just the burger flippers. The auto industry, manufacturing, and even data entry jobs are all on the chopping block. Could you imagine a future where your beloved donut shop is run by machines, devoid of the warmth of human interaction? The Simpsons painted this dystopian future, and we should take it as a warning. The rise of machines may be closer than we think, and the implications are truly terrifying. At number 4, a black hole created on Earth. One unsettling prediction centers around a black hole materializing on Earth, much like the infamous Treehouse of Horror 23 episode. Imagine a minuscule singularity forming, gradually sucking in everything in its voracious path. In reality, black holes are cosmic beasts, relentlessly devouring matter with no regard for boundaries. If one were to emerge on Earth, surrounded by ample matter, we'd be in perilous trouble. The prospect of experiencing spaghettification, a term that describes being stretched into infinitesimal thinness as you approach the black hole's event horizon, is nothing short of spine-chilling. Let's hope that this prediction remains confined to Springfield. At number 3, large-scale environmental disaster. The infamous Simpsons movie plot where Springfield gets quarantined under a giant dome due to environmental catastrophe. I mean, sure, the dome part might be a little bit of a stretch, but the underlying message about environmental negligence hints close to home. Our world is witnessing an alarming rise in reckless corporate practices, leading to environmental degradation and climate change. The warning signs are glaring. Global warming is real and caused by human actions. The Simpsons may just be hinting at the impending environmental disaster of unprecedented proportions. And as we delve deeper into 2024, let's hope that we heed such warnings and take action to prevent such dire predictions from becoming a reality. I mean, except for paper straws. Those are actually really bad. At number 2, virtual reality. In the realm of eerie predictions, the Simpsons have an uncanny knack for tapping into the pulse of technological developments. Take, for instance, their episode Friends and Family from 2016, where they dabbled in the world of virtual reality. It's crucial to note that they didn't prophesy the inception of VR. It was well underway by then. But what it did foresee are the perils of VR misuse. Picture this. Springfield plunges headfirst into a VR frenzy, and the consequences are dire. Pedestrians, oblivious to the real world, get flattened by cars because they're engrossed by their virtual realms. As the addiction grows, folks become estranged from reality itself. The line between the virtual and the tangible blurs. Could this dystopian future become a reality in 2024? With VR advancing at breakneck speed, it's a haunting notion. Will we find ourselves so entangled in alternate worlds that we forget to live in the one we've got? The answer, my friends, remains hidden in the unfathomable depths of time. And at number 1, robot takeover. In the ever-bizarre world of The Simpsons, another eerie prediction emerges, one that taps into our deepest fears about technology. In the 1994 episode Itchy and Scratchy Land, the iconic family ventures into a Disney-inspired theme park overrun by itchy and scratchy robots. Initially benign, these mechanical denizens go haywire, leaving a trail of destruction. This dystopian vision hints at the ominous concept of the technological singularity, where artificial intelligence surpasses human intellect. As we hurtle towards an era of unprecedented AI growth, the question looms. Could machines view us as a threat and seek our extinction? I mean, it might sound like sci-fi, but the relentless progress of AI makes it a genuine concern. The prospect of humanity's demise at the hands of our own creation is a chilling scenario we hope remains confined to Springfield's fictional universe.
Starting off this countdown, we have the trucker convoy. Recently, here in Canada, truckers are protesting around Parliament Hill against COVID-19 mandates. A convoy of big rigs are in Ottawa, blocking off streets and access to the Parliament. And it seems like The Simpsons might have predicted this. In season 10's episode 17, Homer and Bart go on a cross-country journey as truck drivers. While doing so, they encounter truck convoys. And then the trucks attempt to run them off the road before blocking the road completely. In fact, when Homer first spots the trucks, he says to Bart, "Look, son, it's one of nature's most beautiful sights, the convoy." This episode aired in 1999. Now, what's actually funny is someone edited a clip from another Simpsons episode with this one. The episode was from Doe, Canada. In the clip, we see Trudeau escaping his office while the convoy heads towards him. Now that part is fake, like I said, they edited 2 clips together, it's hilarious, but still, many people think that The Simpsons predicted this whole trucker protest situation. In our 9th spot, we have the large-scale environmental disaster. Scientists have been concerned for a while now about the state of our Earth. Due to climate change and global warming, we are going to be experiencing more drastic, severe, and unpredictable weather, like floods, droughts, hurricanes, and wildfires, etc. We're at a point of no return, and in a couple of years, Earth might be completely destroyed. The Simpsons movie talks about a massive environmental disaster that basically leads to the destruction of Springfield, or almost destruction of Springfield. The disaster is caused by Homer dumping a silo of pig feces into an already polluted Springfield lake. And as we all know, pollution is a huge problem worldwide. It's causing our air to become toxic and unbreathable in some places. In other places, it's polluting water supply and soil and contaminating crops. So The Simpsons might have been onto something with that movie. In our 8th spot, we have the colonization of Mars. This year might have been the year in which we colonize Mars. In season 27, episode 16, titled Margian Chronicles, Lisa signs up to be part of a mission to colonize Mars. As a result, she ends up on Mars with Marge. In the Simpsons episode, I believe it takes place in the year 2026, but Elon and his team at SpaceX have been trying to develop cargo ships leaving for Mars in 2022. So it certainly will be the start of the colonization of Mars. In fact, by 2050, he wants to send 1 million people to Mars. How wild is that? Would you sign up to go to Mars though? Let me know in the comments below. I personally would not, okay? I like it here. Moving on to number 7, we have the Bigfoot. Do you believe in the Bigfoot? I mean, over the years, a number of people have claimed to have encounters with it, so maybe it is real. But most of the population thinks it's all just a hoax. According to The Simpsons though, this year we might find out more information on this furry beast. So there's 2 episodes I'm going to refer to here. In one episode, Homer is on a camping trip and ends up looking like Bigfoot after falling into some mud. He's then captured by scientists for observation. They think they finally found this mysterious beast. Then in an episode from 2002 titled The Bart Wants What It Wants, Bart encounters Bigfoot while exiting a bus in Canada. Why does The Simpsons keep hinting at the Bigfoot? Do they know something that we don't know? In our 6th spot, we have the NFTs. NFTs are all the rage lately, and I'm not gonna lie, I still don't completely understand them. All I know is that people are buying these images of apes wearing different outfits, and they're called the Bored Apes. Surely you all have seen it by now and know what I'm talking about. Well, take a look at this image of Lisa Simpson and tell me that it doesn't look like it could be part of someone's collection of NFTs. This image alone has people thinking that The Simpsons predicted the rise of NFTs. But let me know your thoughts. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the cryptocurrency. Alongside NFTs, the other thing on the rise is crypto, and another thing that I once again know nothing about. But in an episode from 1997, The Simpsons made a reference to it. So this is from season 8, and the episode is titled My Sister, My Sitter. In the episode, there's a scene where we see Homer and Marge on a date outside. In the background, we see a crypto barn. It's literally called Crypto Barn, with the slogan, "A place for codes." Coincidence? Maybe, but why did they have that in the episode? And it's a place where you can buy codes. It's a little weird. The Simpsons video game Tapped Out also mentions this place. In fact, this property is the most expensive place in the game, with a price tag of $81,000 US. I don't know, the whole thing is just so wild to me. Moving on to number 4, we have mind control music. Now there's a reason why us humans feel so connected to music. Certain sounds have the ability to comfort us, irritate us, make us happy, make us sad. And it might just be that they will eventually control us completely. First off, let's take a look at an episode from 2001 called New Kids on the Blech, or Blech, I don't know how to pronounce it, BLECCH. In the episode, we see Bart in a new band with his friends, but the band was using a secret mind control device for the Navy. So their music is actually a psychological operation that is used to send children subliminal messages and control their mind. So people believe that in the future, songs will be used to control us. Some people believe it's already begun. Like back in the day, there was that whole case of two people shooting themselves after listening to the song Better by You, Better Than Me. One of the men survived, revealed that while listening to the song, they heard what sounded like, "Let's be dead," and then it just kept chanting, do it, over and over again. So it persuaded them into taking their own lives. So there might possibly be a rise in hidden messages in songs in an attempt to control us. Moving on to number 3, we have World War III. Now, I really hope this prediction doesn't come true this year or at all. But according to The Simpsons, it might. In the 1995 episode titled Lisa's Wedding, we dive 15 years into the future. From there, we see what life is like in the future. Now, in the episode, we see Homer and Lisa's fiance, Hugh, drinking at Moe's bar. During the scene, a very weird exchange goes on between Moe and Hugh, suggesting that there was a third world war. And with the whole Ukraine-Russia situation going on right now, this prediction has me spooked. Moving on to number 2, we have robots turning against humans, aka the robot takeover. There are so many movies out there that have showed us what happens when we give robots too much autonomy. But still, scientists are determined to make super powerful, smart, and independent robots, which is definitely not smart at all. Soon robots are going to become way smarter. In fact, most of them already are. But then they can just be like, hey, I don't want to be under your control anymore, and then they can just start attacking us. Anyways, The Simpsons predicted that a robot takeover will happen. In fact, they hinted at this multiple times in different episodes. One of them being the episode titled Itchy and Scratchy Land, which was episode 4 in season 6. In this episode, large animatronic robots go haywire and cause mass destruction. They basically turn into killing machines, threatening the Simpsons' lives. Then there's this episode titled Them Robots, which is the 17th episode of season 23. And in this episode, Mr. Burns replaces all of the power plant workers with robots. But then this goes terribly wrong and the robots start to turn on the community. So The Simpsons not only predicted that robots will take over our jobs, but also that they'll turn against us and try to wipe out the human race. How fun! Let's just hope that this prediction doesn't come true this year or at all. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the metaverse. The metaverse is defined as a simulated environment that uses augmented reality, virtual reality, and blockchain. In this world, it mimics the real world, and in it you can interact, socialize, work, game, and experience other things that you would normally do in the real world. And guess who predicted this in an episode from over a decade ago? The Simpsons. In the episode, we see the characters attach a cord to themselves and then disappear into a different reality. In this other reality, they have features like a place that you can go gamble and a virtual friends list where you can add or reject people, kind of like Facebook, adding or rejecting friend requests. It's eerily similar as to what Mark Zuckerberg has planned, but The Simpsons came up with it first, so Marky Mark is a little thief. Just kidding.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Prince Philip's passing. Last year in April of 2021, Prince Philip, the husband to Queen Elizabeth II, passed away, and it is said that The Simpsons might have predicted his death right down to the day. In season 7, episode 3, Home Sweet Home Diddly Dum Doodly, the Simpsons neighbors, the Flanders, temporarily take the children in after a lice outbreak. Apparently, they're all driving in a car on the way to church, and baby Maggie suddenly just turns her head to Bart and Lisa and says, quote, Prince Philip will die on April 9th, 2021. Okay, it's probably the most on-the-nose prediction, and all I can say is, how? Apparently the line has since been replaced in recent versions, but it is said that this is actually what was said in the original broadcast, which happened in 1995, 26 years before his actual passing. It truly is one of those chilling Simpsons predictions moments. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Queen's passing. There are many viral TikToks that have been going around since the Queen's passing that suggest that the Simpsons actually predicted her death. The episode in question is season 15, episode 4, the Regina Monologues, which we will be talking about a few more times today. But to start off with, we have this recent rumor. The TikToks have been edited with certain footage in a way that suggests that this episode did in fact predict the Queen's death. But when we watch the entire episode, that is likely not the case at all. The episode doesn't show the way in which the Queen passed, and also, she doesn't even die in the episode. While this was a very clever trick to get a viral TikTok video, it looks like this is one time when we've all been bamboozled, and the writers didn't quite predict our reality. In our number number 8 spot today we have The Accident. Okay, so we just talked a little bit about the Regina Monologues episode, but that is not where the predictions end for this one. In the episode, the Simpson family rents a Mini Cooper and they start driving around London. Marge is shocked at how well everything is going on their first trip to England, but of course that can only last for so long. They get stuck on a roundabout, which is honestly a universal experience. I mean, they're so confusing when you're not used to them. Why do they even exist? And the family starts to drive in circles for hours. Homer finally decides that enough is enough and decides to break out of the roundabout. When he does this, however, he plows straight through the gates of Buckingham Palace and he slams into Queen Elizabeth II's horse-drawn carriage. Now, we know this didn't happen in real life, but this could be a prediction that something similar might happen in real life. Probably not as a result of a roundabout, but people try to do strange things when it comes to protected places. People try to sneak into Buckingham Palace all the time. It wouldn't necessarily be surprising to see something like this happen, but hopefully this is just a premise that will stay in the animated show where it truly does belong. In our number 7 spot today we have Standing Trial. After this horse-drawn carriage accident, Homer has no idea who he just knocked down and he starts trying to sort of brush the whole thing off. Of course, this isn't accepted and immediately the Scots guardsmen start beating him to a pulp. After this, however, Homer is put on trial for causing harm to the Queen as well as for wrecking her carriage. On trial, Homer calls the Queen an imposter because her luggage has the inscription HRH. Of course, meant to mean Her Royal Highness, Homer suggests that this is actually short for Henrietta R. Hippo. Can totally see how he got there. Rather than believing this is a prediction that the Queen is really Henrietta Hippo, some people believe that this is just a grim prediction for a monarch's future. Of course, there are plenty of safety protocols put in place, but some are worried that this might mean that this episode might be predicting that we will see someone stand trial in the future for trying to harm the head of state. Whether or not you enjoy the royal family, it's safe to say that most people hope that they don't get harmed, either intentionally or otherwise, so hopefully this is one prediction that just does not come true. In our number 6 spot today we have The Sentencing. For the final prediction that comes with this whirlwind of an episode, after Homer accuses the Queen of being Henrietta R. Hippo, she is of course outraged and she sentences him to being imprisoned in the Tower of London, later to be executed by beheading, and to have his head placed on a spike. In the end, the Queen does pardon Homer, but some have suggested that this might be a prediction that we might see some old historical and horrifying royal practices come back in the future. We'll talk about a similar kind of prediction with another royal family member later in this list, but some people believe that these sort of gruesome forms of capital punishment might end up coming back. To end off this episode, the Queen only agrees to pardon Homer on the condition that the Simpson family take Madonna with them when they left. I don't think that part is any kind of real prediction, I just wanted to include it because it's pretty funny. In our number 5 spot today we have royal spying. In an episode of The Simpsons, the now King Charles III, along with his late mother, Queen Elizabeth II, can be seen watching over Springfield. They're doing this through surveillance cameras that have been planted all over the town. Some people have suggested that this perhaps is a prediction that could already be happening or might be something that our future holds. It's safe to say that the UK already does have its fair share of CCTV cameras, which for many reasons is great, but of course people worry about being spied on, which is entirely fair. I don't necessarily think that the royal family just sits around spying on everyone, but there is definitely potential that they, or people working from them, know more than anyone would like to know, making the royal family sound like the CIA, but who knows? The Simpsons have definitely predicted stranger things. In our number 4 spot today we have The Tyrant. This is one prediction that The Simpsons made that, while hopefully unlikely, we'll definitely just have to wait and see to find out. In The Simpsons, while Prince Harry doesn't make a lot of appearances, they do include him in the show of course, and they have quite a grim prediction for his future self. They suggest that perhaps in the future Prince Harry has risen to power. It's not so bad. Prince Harry is certainly one of the more likable members of the royal family. I know for some of you that's a hot take, but regardless, although Harry is not in line for the throne and has almost mostly renounced his royalty, he is still part of the family, and again, stranger things have happened. Once in power, however, things go awry and Harry proves to be an entirely different person than anyone would have expected. In The Simpsons, once in power, Harry becomes a ruthless tyrant who is so bad that he reinstates capital punishment, but this time he's taking a tip from his ancestors. It's not just regular modern day capital punishment that we see now, it is of course in royal family fashion done in the form of beheadings. In our number 3 spot today we have Out of Control. This is another Simpsons prediction that, depending on how you look at it, could be one that you could say did come true. When the Simpsons family went to England, most of the newspapers in the episode showed that they were reporting on the trial of Homer for harming the Queen. Of course, that's like one of the central focuses of the episode, episode, so it makes a lot of sense, but there is one paper that has a different headline. In the episode, it's actually the Daily Mail, and they have the headline, quote, "Bart and Prince Harry out of control," and it shows a picture of the two outside of a bar. Now, I'm not saying that Prince Harry went on a pub crawl and got messy with Bart Simpson, but there are people who didn't enjoy how Prince Harry has chosen to live his life. We all have haters, no worries Prince Harry, but many people would suggest that his behavior is, quote, out of control. I personally disagree, but I know not everyone does. It's safe to say that Prince Harry likely won't be seen outside of any bar on a newspaper cover anytime soon, but who am I to say for sure? In our number 2 spot today, we have King Henry VIII. Less of a prediction for the future, considering this episode was strictly about historical figures. Season 15, episode 11, Margical History Tour, takes us back in time and shows us a Simpsons version of the life of King Henry VIII. Known for being quite a terrible person and an absolutely horrible husband, the episode, while of course taking quite a few liberties, really is surprisingly accurate for a comedy animation show. The king was married 6 times, and in the episode he beheads quite a few of his wives. In reality it was only 2, but still 2 is more than enough for us in the future to add a couple extra in for dramatic effect. While this episode is just a fun premise for a silly episode, some worry that this might be a prediction for how the royal family might fall back into some old practices. Queen Elizabeth II was incredibly loved by those who support the monarchy, and it's safe to say that her successor does not have the same kind of adoration. This makes people worried that things might end up in a more grim place than how the Queen left them. In our number 1 spot today, we have Prince Christian. A departure from the British royal family, this young prince made a debut in the animated show. Prince Christian of Denmark, who is now 16, is 12 years old in the episode. The Simpsons family travels to Denmark for a medical treatment for Grandpa, and it is here that Lisa meets the man of her dreams, the skateboarding prince. The episode skips to the future and it shows Lisa and the prince getting married and waving from their balcony. Of course, no one thinks that this very real prince is going to marry the very fictional Lisa Simpson, but some believe that perhaps this might be a prediction for the future of the prince's love life. Normally, royal marriages are strategic, but it's possible, similar to Prince Harry, that Prince Christian might just meet his future love in a more non-traditional fashion. The prince is obviously still quite young, so only time will tell with this one.